And that's kind of what your dream was saying to you.
Yeah.
Like the limitations you're putting on yourself in this reality, maybe they're not real. Maybe you can. Maybe you need to breathe in places when you don't think you can.
Mm.
Maybe you need to like be able to open up and take it in and live more fully in ways that you don't allow yourself to. That maybe you need to learn how to break the rules that you're living by that aren't actually rules, right?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Crack Between the Worlds. I'm Mark Wald, and my partner in time, Jordan Anderson, is here again for the third installment on the nature of reality. And this is where we dive into the practical heart of things. The big question, does any of this really matter? We'll talk about how this transforms our daily experience and how these models inform deep personal awakening and growth. So if you're ready, 1, 2, 3, go. And this is where it gets, I think, for you, especially, you've been like itching to get to this point. Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, you can see the smile on my face. This is the part that I'm excited about, right? It's like why have this conversation, right? Like I think that's probably the best place to start. It's like ultimately, what do you do with this? But I'm so curious, like why is it important that we're having this conversation?
So I want to ask you that question. Why do you want to have this conversation?
Okay. You usually do this in our conversations as well, so should have expected this. But I think going back to what you said, the reason I came to you was, I was in self-limiting behaviors, and I was
Mhm.
looking to um, resolve those, or ultimately work with those. I couldn't have put those into words in the beginning, right? Without having these conversations, I wouldn't have gotten to that place.
Right.
So I think these conversations help you get to that place of understanding patterns, self limitations. So they're a piece to the puzzle. And I think, therefore, for anyone, it's an important piece to just consider. Because I think the moment you bring some doubt and also some additional ways of looking at things, you just give people more tools to say, oh, okay, like what if I just changed the way that I might engage here? There's this really quickly, there's this like I bike a lot, like I cycle a lot. And when I first got my bike, I was riding all the time and I'd always get flat tires, like or the chain would fall off or something. And I would get frustrated because it's like, okay, like um why does this keep happening to me? And over time you recognize, because you're not looking at all the glass that's on the floor, or like you're not paying attention to the needle or the nails, or like you're not looking, or with the chain falling off, it's like, yeah, you're not paying attention, listening to the chain, right? Like the chain gets to a point of tension. Don't just continue to push your foot down, like work with it. And I think this is very much the same thing, right? It
Mm.
presses pause and allows us to have a conversation to say, hey, let's look at it from these lens and see how it engages.
Yes. Right. So it's a waking up process,
Yeah.
right? And another way to look at it might also be um, what's happening externally might be a reflection of what's happening internally.
Hmm.
What am I not paying attention to inside that's also causing me strife and pain and so on and so forth?
How does that I'm curious what you mean by that. Like, how does that manifest itself?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, right? But if so, let's say I'm pretending that I don't really ride bikes much, but let's say that that's happening to me, and I'm saying to myself, "Why is this always happening to me?"
Mhm,
First thing I'm going to want to do is not be a victim, try to understand, like, and that's what you just did.
mhm.
The first step of that is what's my responsibility in making sure I don't get flat tires, right? Or the chain, like, how am I not taking care of things?
Yeah.
And then I might look at, is this as a dreaming experience, as an external dreaming experience, this keeps happening to me? Is it reflecting to me a place in my life where things are flat? There are flat tires or chains are falling off or things aren't working the way that I want them to or the way I think they should because I'm not paying attention to something.
Mm. I love that. So
Yeah.
that's a really good why, right? Like
Yeah.
anyone listening should be like, okay, great. I want to, I want to avoid flat tires.
Right.
And I'm curious, like, what do you do with this, or like, how do you use this knowledge?
Well, that's what I'm describing. I mean, this so that's how I use it,
Yeah.
right? I would then ask the question, how is it possible? Like if you had a dream at night
Mm-hmm.
where you're getting flat tires all the time, you're getting frustrated. And when you wake up, you ask yourself, so if everything in the dream is me, because everything in the dream is you, like we talked about in the then what's the flat tire represent? Where am I having flat tires in my life? Where am I not, right? Where is this relevant? It might be in a relationship that keeps falling apart or not working. It might be in something I'm not getting right at work. It might be an internal unhappiness that I'm not paying attention to. But that's the opportunity to pay attention to it as something in my unconscious is showing it to me. So even in daytime experiences, if I think about it from a dreaming theory, I think about this is if everything is connected and everything is working, it's all consciousness unfolding together, then there must be meaning in all of it,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then everybody is my unconscious self
Yeah.
in a way. All the relationships that I'm in, if they're difficult relationships, if I'm with somebody who's difficult for me, I might have to look at, are they a reflection of a part of me I'm not paying attention to?
So is it just giving individuals new ways to engage with reality to then answer questions like that? And then answering those questions, to your point, allows you to be more aware, more awake, or even to have those questions in the first place.
Right. It's again, this is one of those things where it's waking ourselves up to the nature of reality.
Yeah.
This flat tire thing is not just your bike.
Mhm.
There's something else that keeps happening. Something's trying to be communicated to you in the dreaming process. So it's a matter of waking up to that and paying attention.
Mm.
It's something that something is communicating to you in the dreaming process.
I
Does that
love
make
that.
sense?
Yeah.
And then the next step of this is to find somebody to work with, right? To have a therapist, a coach, a mentor, somebody you work with to work with these things because we can't see them all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my greatest awakenings happened in therapy, you know?
But I'm curious to you, right? Because I mean, you've seen several people at this point in time. You've coached several people. I mean, you coached me from what I would say is a very naive stage to this point. And
Mhm.
so what I know now is much more than what I knew at the beginning. And because I know more now, it taints, and not taints, but changes maybe the questions, maybe the approach, whatever it is. Like there's a lot of baked in assumptions now from what I had in the beginning. I mean, so I go back to like, if we have these two theories, how are you using them? How are you using them to help guide people like me when I come in to get to that place?
Great. This is good. This is a good question. And I just had a big aha. Okay. So you and I got together and we did a sort of trial run for me
Hmm.
to see how it is going to be to actually do this kind of podcast. And you came to my office and we set everything up and we did a trial run of something like this. And it was really helpful for me, by the way. Thank you.
Of
It
course.
really inspired me to do what we're doing. And I'm glad we're doing this today.
Nice.
And in that, I'm remembering that you shared at the end of our conversation a couple of things about yourself that I think would help us have this conversation right now. Would it be okay with you if we just listen back to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, Lloyd, can we do that? Can we?
No problem.
Okay, 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 great. So then what we're going to do is we're going to pull that up and we'll let everybody who listen or watch, depending on what they're doing,
Yeah.
and you and I will do the same and we'll come back and I want to talk about that.
Lloyd's the best, isn't he?
He's great.
Yeah.
I'm so
Agreed.
I couldn't live without that guy.
Plug for Lloyd.
Yep,
Lloyd.
yep.
But yeah.
So great. We'll take a moment and we'll come back.
Cool.
Great.
There's a personal story that I want to share really quickly in the sense of when we first started to work together, you basically said, wake up. You told me, wake up. And shortly after I first started working with you, I grew up a swimmer, like a very good swimmer, so love water in general. Like water is my safe space. But it's also my biggest fear, in the sense that one of my biggest fears was, you're swimming in a pool and someone accidentally hits you because you always play around, and then you get paralyzed from the neck down, and then you sink to the bottom, and then you drown, and people think you're just playing around or like holding your breath, and you just drown while, you're immobile.
Right.
My biggest fears, right?
Right.
The lack of control. But after our conversation, you said, wake up. I had a dream, a very, very important dream that still sits with me, in the sense that I was underwater. I was in the ocean, deep underwater, and I was looking up, and I remember being like, I'm going to die. I'm not going to be able to get out of the situation. And in that moment, this other part of me spoke up. It's like, you can breathe. And then the other part was like, no, I can't. It's like, no, you can breathe. It's like, I'm underwater. I can't breathe. And it's like, trust me, you can breathe. And then in the dream, it's like, and even the first breath, like I was hesitant, but I remember taking that first breath, like, oh my gosh, like, like, what am I about to do? And I remember breathing. And that to me was very much this thing of being aware, like being aware of whatever comes your way, and being present with it. I'm not saying that we can go breathe underwater, but
No, it's a metaphor.
yeah, exactly.
It's a metaphor
Exactly.
for waking up and realizing
Exactly.
you don't have all the limitations that you think you.
Literally that. Yeah.
The nature of reality is not what you think,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And I thought that was incredibly important experience for me to go through, because then it allowed me to lean into a lot of what you've talked about today, right? To just, again, like, moving forward with awareness, so that as things come up that I might have been told that I couldn't have done, or for whatever reason was not something that I would have ever believed I could have done, it's to pause and say, where did that come from? And to recognize it and see it and really play with it and be like, oh, no. Like, yes, you can walk into that store. Like, no one's preventing you,
Yeah.
And I think that's really it, at least from my journey. It's been very important, very powerful, and I very much thank you for that, because the path that I'm on feels um, traceable to that dream in a lot of ways. So thank you for that.
I want to, and hopefully I paused long enough, but because we can edit this out, okay? But I want to ask if you'd be willing to share what you have dreamed up for yourself recently, because I've been watching you like head in a direction, and you've suddenly created this opportunity. You've dreamed this opportunity up. Would you share?
Yeah. And I think that's part of it too, right? Like, I would want to go to grad school, and when I said first I want to go to grad school, the first question that came to my mind was, where in the world do you want to go? Like, where in the world? Like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? And I said Oxford. And at the time I remember like, okay, don't say that to anybody else, because they might laugh at you. They might be like, that's impossible, all these other things. And of course, I looked at a bunch of other schools and did the whole thing right to make sure that I knew I was making a decision based on fact. But in that process of studying for the tests and everything else, that was always the mission. That was always the dream. And it was cool. Like, some of the things that would come up, right? I was in the airport lounge on the way to Egypt, actually, and some guy stepped out of the lounge, or the line. There was a line to get in the Amex lounge, and he stepped out of the line and then got back in, came behind me. I was like, no, you were in front of me. Like, why am I, Turns out he's, very high up at a company. I won't name the company, but very high up at a company, and also went to Oxford. And so we ended up having a very nice, beautiful conversation. And then I got to put that, when I'm applying, I got to put his name as someone that I'd, because he gave me his number. He's like, reach out, ask any questions you have, all these things. And he's a high enough person that I guarantee that impacted my ability to not only understand Oxford, but have a true, genuine appreciation for Oxford. And then, of course, the news that, is worth sharing is that I got into, and I'm going to Oxford. And yeah, I think at some point earlier on, that would have been a non-starter. It would have been like, there wouldn't have been a second voice. It would have just been like, hey, yeah, you're not going to go to Oxford. There's no chance you're going to Oxford. But thankfully, there's another voice that's like, hey, dude, what would it look like if you just we're able to dream this thing up.
Right. Not self-sabotage,
Exactly.
not self-limit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that has been a beautiful thing. I remember before going into one of the tests, you asked me, it's like, what if you just believed you could do it? Like, what if you just genuinely believed that you could go into the room and ace a test? And, I was like, okay, like, Mark, there's limitations here. But, that test is, again, a very important piece. Like, that was a very important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I fully can attest to some of what we've talked about today, as far as just, not to say that it's a miracle. It's just to say that the real tools, real ways of engaging to grow as an individual, and that manifests itself in, on the path to Oxford, but in multiple small ways, right? Like the decision to get out of bed every single morning, how I get out of bed, and what I do with my time, where I spend my time, how I interact with people, what happens when I feel pain or anger. I think those are all, really important, again, things that I can trace back to that moment of, hey, what if you could breathe? Like, what if you could breathe?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome back, everyone. And Lloyd, thank you. That was great. That was just a few months ago that we had that conversation, like 3 months ago or so. I don't know. And we have been working together for a couple of years. So based on what you expressed in that, how do you see your own evolution and your own understanding of the nature of reality and how that impacted these things you're talking about in that experience?
Yeah, great question. And I think the easiest one to look at is when I talk about the dream, right? Like this idea of being underwater, having something wake up and speak to me and say, hey, like, what if you could breathe? I think having these conversations and even just allowing my brain to go to some of the places that these conversations allow us to go to allows me to let that in, right? Let that voice in, not to be like, okay, that's crazy. And, like, be quiet, you can't breathe. It allows for more subconscious engagement, in my personal opinion. It also allows for a more, at least for me, right? Like a more playful way to engage with life. Like, again, we go back to the story of me and the Amex line. It allows me to make a conscious decision, right? Like, it's like, instead of life happening to me, it's like, well, what if this, like, and you just have fun with it and you just live it, and then you can, leverage it in some ways moving forward.
So a couple of things that I took some notes, and a couple of things that showed up for me. One was that when we see reality not as consensus reality. So consensus reality, we think about consciousness having an impact on reality. If everybody agrees on what reality is, it's going to take shape in that way. That's what we call a consensus reality, the reality we all agree is real. And in that reality, we all agree that this is all solid, that this is real, that I'm an individual and that I have free will. And we just kind of agree this is all true. And we all kind of sleepwalk through life sort of abiding by the rules of consensus reality. When you look at things differently and you realize maybe that isn't how things really are, like that moment we talked about in the Matrix, right?
Exactly.
Are the limitations that we think we have really real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And if they're not, then we open our eyes up to different possibilities that we hadn't thought about. And that's kind of what your dream was saying to you.
Yeah.
Like, the limitations you're putting on yourself in this reality, maybe they're not real. Maybe you can. Maybe you need to breathe in places when you don't think you can. Maybe you need to like be able to open up and take it in and live more fully in ways that you don't allow yourself to. That maybe you need to learn how to break the rules that you're living by that aren't actually rules. Right?
Yeah.
And this is also what you talked about in in your experience around deciding to go to Oxford, that on some level you had a limitation. You had a self-limiting experience of, oh, I can't go there. I'm not going to, people are going to laugh. I can't do this. And you were living in that consensus reality. And then you found a way to step outside of that and live in a different experience. And then this is the thing, how we show up has an impact on how reality shows up for us. If I step into dreaming consciousness, then dreaming consciousness engages with me. Hello, everyone. If you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. It's a great way to support what we're doing here. Also, we're really dedicated to providing content that supports growth and awakening, and we want to know what's working. So please leave your thoughts, your ideas, and your questions in the comments below. That would help us out a lot. Thank you again for watching, and back to the show. If I'm sleepwalking through life, dreaming consciousness can't engage with me. I won't pay attention. The guy that was in line ahead of me went behind me. I'd be like, good, now I get to get in one sooner. I don't care.
Yeah.
But some part of you went, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You paid attention to dreaming processes on some level, invited him back into his place, and it served you in this new way, in a huge way.
Yeah.
It's like, how powerful is the dream that could happen?
Do you, for you, and again, you engage with multiple people, it's got to be a fun part of the job, right? To see people wake up in some ways, to have these experiences, to then come back and be like, whoa, this is happening.
Yes, I love what I do. It's really true. I could cry. I love having the experience of seeing people that I get to know, that I actually care about, wake up and experience themselves more fully and experience them, and then their life changes. It's such an amazing experience.
So for me, right, as kind of this next journey embarks, I'd ask you personally, like, given what you've seen, right, from me, from multiple other people as well in your various conversations, what would be your guidance as I'm engaging with these models and nature of reality, like engaging with reality continuously? Are there any main pieces you're like, hey, like, let's anchor to these things and just remember this?
Yes. So from the perspective of dreaming consciousness or even simulation theory, I think that everything is interacting, that there is this flow. It's not all separateness. Okay. And especially, and this is what I like about dreaming, the dreaming theory, the dreaming model, is that everything is my unconscious self. I get to stop pretending that I'm a victim and rationalizing and justifying my victimhood, and start looking at why is this happening to me? Why am I getting flats? Rather than being a victim, we stop and we go, okay, why am I so unhappy in this relationship? Why is this person treating me in a way that feels abusive? Why am I, not standing up for myself? And these things are showing up for me to ask that question, not to become a victim, but to begin to see, oh, this is what I'm supposed to learn. I need to learn how to stand up for myself. I need to learn how to know that I'm worthy of more than this. I need to see that maybe my behavior, my narcissistic controlling behavior, is also a part of what's showing up in front of me. I take responsibility in the dreaming process. This person is my unconscious self. Some of my greatest teachers have been people, I've been around a number of people who were really controlling and really just certain behaviors that I also have. And it was astounding to me that that's how loud it has to get before I hear it and go, oh, wait a minute. This is something for me to look at.
Yeah.
I have to put myself in a position that's so uncomfortable before I'm willing to go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to wake up to it enough that when it starts happening, I notice it right away.
Yep.
And I pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Okay. so I can learn and grow and create a better life for myself. I can stop making the same decisions and the same mistakes. I can start paying attention to my own controlling behaviors or my own selfishness or whatever.
Mhm.
I can notice the ways that I'm not capable of loving and open myself up more to loving. The other thing that I think, and I'm thinking about the things that showed up in your conversation, is that I really see everything now like this is a playground,
Mhm.
right? I'm in a playground now instead of this consensus reality where I've kind of done everything and I'm like in my aliveness. This is all new every day.
Yeah.
This is exciting, and I get to, if I'm willing to see this as a different experience, then I can question things I never would have questioned. I can challenge reality like you did getting into Oxford.
Mhm.
For you, that was not even a reality.
Mhm.
And I just think that's huge that you were willing to challenge reality and do something you didn't think you could do. Okay. And there's a dreaming sequence that I want to bring in. And so I want to pause here and say, so we can not do this.
Mm.
Okay. I'm going to start it. And if you think, no, I don't want to go here, we'll just go back.
Cool.
Okay. There's a dreaming process you brought in to me a long time ago. And we kind of talked about this, but I think this is important. Okay. Do you know where I'm going?
I think so.
Okay. Are you okay with this?
No, let's go.
Okay. So so I want to just say to the people who are listening to this that aren't witnessing this conversation that Jordan, you're a Black man
I'm Black.
from Jamaica, right?
Yes.
And that you grew up in Jamaica as a Black man,
Mhm.
and maybe could you describe? I think you know where I'm going here. Could you describe the
Yeah.
experience you told me
Yeah.
back when we first started working?
Yeah. So I'm from Jamaica. I'm Black. You can't hear it in my voice, but I am Black. Or maybe you can. Hopefully you can. But in Jamaica, so my dad is descendant from, we'll say, slave owners, and my mother is descendant from slaves. So I have cousins who have, blue eyes, blonde hair, aka white. And I think at an early age, I saw privilege. I mean, in Jamaica, in fact, I have slightly lighter skin color. They view that as, or at least they did, and thankfully it's not as prominent anymore, but they view that as a currency of some sort, value placed on that. And so for white individuals, there's a privilege that you get.
Right.
And there was things in my life, like I think at a young age, and I said this at a young age, and I'm not saying this now, but at a young age, I was like, I'll use this story. I went to the barber and they had like a grid of like haircuts you could get. And there's one white kid. I was like, I want that haircut. I want that. I want whatever is working there. I want that for myself. And I think that's probably played out in several ways and patterns over my life, including and probably not limited to reaching for some top tier schools, Oxford, of course, being one of them. Yeah.
So when you explained this to me,
Mhm.
the experience that I had was that as a Black man, you wanted to be able to have the privilege. It wasn't that you wanted to be white.
Mhm.
It was that you wanted to break the barrier.
Mhm.
You wanted to be the person who could change reality, who could dream something entirely different and step into this other world and have that privilege.
Mhm.
This is a dreaming process.
Mhm.
Okay. This is something you wanted
Mhm.
when you were young.
Yep.
And then here you are going to one of the most prestigious
Mhm.
schools that white people go to, right?
Yeah.
Not just white people, clearly, but this has a history,
Yep.
right? And that you aimed for that you were almost afraid to go there, which is really fascinating, right?
Yeah.
But you got it and you're going in. You're actually living your dream.
Yep.
You're getting to have that level of privilege. And I think it's fucking amazing. I never use that word here. So that's the first time I've sworn here.
Nice.
I think it's fucking amazing that you are breaking that in yourself, breaking that barrier, and you are allowing yourself to be as great as you are. I think that's remarkable.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, and thank you, right? Like, again, the conversations along the way. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's been a lot there. So thank you for helping me see some of the patterns and,
Yeah.
to your point, help me get to this point.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for letting me bring that in. That was a little bit risky, but I really think it was important. I think it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
You did that. So, and to kind of wrap this up, I want to say that to understand this as a dream means, or as a simulation, means that we get to see that things aren't as real as we think they are. Like that moment in the Matrix, he said, "Do you really think your muscles have anything to do with what you can do in this reality?" It's questioning reality.
Yeah.
Right? Questioning what you're capable of, being willing to push the edges, being willing to realize that your dreaming process has an impact and it answers to you, like that guy you met in line,
Yeah.
right? That was huge.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to add to that? I think I'm going to end here with a poem. Okay.
Please.
That sort of responds on an even deeper level to how I feel about what it means to, it's not just seeing it as a dream, it's waking up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is, I'm hoping I can remember it. It's Rainer Maria Rilke, poem Rilke, German poet. Excuse me. And it wasn't a poem he published. It was something he wrote in a letter to a friend. Okay.
Okay.
And it goes like this, I think. Again and again, some people in the crowd wake up. They have no ground in the crowd, and they emerge according to much broader laws. They carry strange customs with them, and they demand room for bold gestures. And the future speaks ruthlessly through them. One more time. Again and again, some people in the crowd wake up. They have no ground in the crowd, and they emerge according to much broader laws. They carry strange customs with them, and they demand room for bold gestures. And the future speaks ruthlessly through them. Isn't that amazing? And it says everything. Like we have to break the rules, and we have to take on we have to behave differently. This is what's exciting to me about all of this.
The future speaks ruthlessly through them. I love that.
Isn't that great?
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for that.
So is this a good place to stop?
Yeah, this is incredible. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this officially.
Yeah.
So you're an amazing person.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. And remember, be good to you.
And thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you. The Crack Between the Worlds is conceived and hosted by Mark Wald. Produced, engineered, and edited by Lloyd Lemmerman. Music composed by Kindly. A Turning on the Lights production. For updates, visit Crack Between the Worlds and our Instagram @The Crack Between the Worlds.